Imagine a young German pilot, soaring through enemy skies in the deadliest fighter plane the world had ever seen, only to make a single fateful mistake that hands his nation's greatest secret straight to the Allies. It's June 23, 1942, and Oberleutnant Armin Faber is about to rewrite the course of the air war without firing a shot. What if one wrong turn in the clouds could tip the scales of World War II? Stay with me because this true story of confusion, survival, and unintended consequences will reveal how a lone aircraft became the key to unlocking German air superiority, and why Faber's incredible journey still echoes in aviation history today. High above the English Channel, the roar of engines drowns out everything else. Armin Faber, just 22 years old, grips the controls of his Focke-Wulf Fw 190, the pinnacle of German engineering. Nicknamed the Butcher Bird by Allied pilots for its lethal prowess, this fighter boasts a top speed over 400 miles per hour, a blistering climb rate, and armament that could shred any opponent. Faber, an ace with 7 confirmed kills, feels invincible in its cockpit. But today invincibility is an illusion. The mission starts routinely from Morlaix Airfield in occupied Brittany, France. Faber's squadron escorts bombers back from a raid on Plymouth, England. The Luftwaffe dominates the skies in 1942, thanks to the Fw 190's superior design. Its BMW 801 radial engine delivers 1,700 horsepower, allowing dives and rolls that leave British Spitfires struggling to keep up. Yet, the Channel is a graveyard for the unwary, where dogfights erupt in seconds and navigation errors prove fatal. Suddenly, RAF Spitfires ambush from the clouds. The sky erupts in chaos, tracers streak past, engines scream. Faber's wingman takes hits, trailing smoke as he veers away. Faber banks hard, cannon fire rattling his wings. His radio crackles and dies. Fuel leaks from a punctured line. Disoriented in the melee, he plunges into a cloud bank, evading pursuers through sheer skill. Emerging, he scans the horizon. No landmarks, compass spinning wildly from battle damage. Fuel gauge plummeting, he has minutes before the engine quits. Below, a glimmer of water appears. The Channel, he thinks. He banks eastward, paralleling what he believes is the French coast. Relief washes over him. Home is near. But reality is crueler. That's not the English Channel, it's the Bristol Channel. The land beneath isn't friendly France, it's hostile Wales. His compass, knocked out in the fight, has reversed his direction entirely. Every mile east drives him deeper into enemy territory. The Fw 190 shudders, engine coughing sporadically. Faber's heart races, sweat stings his eyes. Spotting a runway below, neat hangars, parked planes, he assumes it's a German base in occupied territory. Circling once, he drops gear and aligns for landing. From 800 feet, through haze and fatigue, he misses the RAF roundels on those aircraft. This is RAF Pembrey, South Wales, a quiet training field far from the front lines. On the ground, Flight Lieutenant Dennis Cook oversees a routine day. A sergeant's shout breaks the calm. Unknown aircraft inbound, damaged. Cook shields his eyes. The silhouette is alien, long nose, stubby wings. Whispers spread, that's a Jerry. No aggression, just a smoking fighter descending with gear down. Cook orders, hold fire. Let's see what this is. Faber touches down flawlessly, the wheels chirping on tarmac. Engine ticking cool, he pops the canopy, inhaling fresh air. Victory, he's safe. But as he unclips, reality crashes in. British uniforms, rifles aimed, Union Jacks fluttering. Not France. Britain. Horror grips him. His hands tremble. He's delivered the Reich's top-secret fighter intact to the enemy. Cook approaches, revolver ready but low. In halting German, hands up. Step out. Faber complies, tall and disheveled, a cut on his brow from the fight. Airmen surround him, faces mixing shock and triumph. This isn't just a pilot, it's intelligence gold. The Fw 190 sits pristine, bullet holes aside, every innovation exposed. Advanced fuel injection, heavy cannons, superior aerodynamics. As guards lead Faber away, his mind reels. Oh. The compass betrayal, the disorienting dive, it all led here. Shame burns. He's handed the Allies the blueprint to counter German dominance. Yet he's alive, a choice amid chaos. Meanwhile, excitement ripples through Pembrey. Mechanics gawk at the engine's massive cylinders, pilots whisper about its speed. Base Commander Group Captain Wilson arrives, ordering guards and transport. This capture could save countless lives, evolving RAF tactics overnight. Faber, in a holding room, faces Captain Hughes, an intelligence officer. You're a prisoner now, treated fairly. Faber nods, voice hoarse. I thought I was over France. Hughes translates, a chuckle follows. The medic tends his wound with care, a human touch amid enmity. Outside, photos snap, measurements taken. The FW-190 secrets. Its roll rate, climb superiority, will soon fuel Allied countermeasures. Faber's error, born of battle's fog, becomes Britain's boon. But what happens next? As the aircraft heads to testing and Faber to captivity, the ripples spread. How does one mistake alter the war's trajectory? Stick around for part 2, where we dive into the dissections, test flights, and the profound shifts in aerial combat that followed. The morning after Armin Faber's impossible landing, the quiet Welsh airfield at RAF Pembrey buzzed with unprecedented activity. Technicians swarmed the Focke-Wulf Fw-190 like archaeologists uncovering a lost treasure. Cameras clicked from every angle, capturing the aircraft's sleek lines, wide-track undercarriage, and that distinctive radial engine cowling. Mechanics peered into the cockpit, noting the straightforward layout of controls. Simple, logical, unmistakably German in efficiency. The BMW 801 radial, with its 14 cylinders pumping out nearly 1,700 horsepower, drew particular fascination. Its fuel injection system promised reliability at altitude where carbureted engines often faltered. Group Captain Hugh Wilson, an experienced hand with captured enemy machines, arrived swiftly. Tasked with ferrying the prize to safer hands, he inspected the fighter personally. Bullet holes pocked the wings and fuselage, but structurally it remained sound. No major damage beyond the fuel leak. Wilson climbed in, ran through the checks, and taxied carefully. With strict orders not to risk a crash, he flew the short hop to RAF Farnborough, home of the Royal Aircraft Establishment. The flight was uneventful. The FW-190 handled crisply, its roll rate astonishing even in gentle maneuvers. Touching down at Farnborough on June 24, the aircraft was immediately wheeled into a secure hangar. Repainted in RAF colors and assigned serial MP499, it shed its Luftwaffe markings but kept its aura of mystery. Evaluation began on July 3, 1942. Test pilots, engineers, and intelligence officers treated it with reverent precision. Chief Test Pilot Wing Commander H.J. Willie Wilson took the first flights, logging hours that revealed the fighter's true character. In dives, it screamed past 400 miles per hour with ease. Its climb rate stunned observers, far superior to the current Spitfire Mark V at low and medium altitudes. The wide landing gear made ground handling forgiving, and visibility from the cockpit was excellent thanks to the bubble canopy. Armament impressed too. Two 7.92mm machine guns synchronized through the propeller plus two devastating 20mm MG-151 cannons mounted in the wing roots, delivering a punch that could cripple bombers or shred fighters in seconds. Yet every strength had a shadow. At higher altitudes, above 20,000 feet, the BMW engine lost power due to poorer supercharger performance compared to Merlin-equipped Spitfires. The FW-190's roll was lightning fast below 15,000 feet, but its turn radius widened noticeably in sustained circles. Cooling fins on the engine were vulnerable. A well-placed burst could overheat it quickly. British pilots noted the control forces felt heavier in hard maneuvers, potentially fatiguing in prolonged fights. These details, painstakingly documented, formed the backbone of new tactical briefings. By mid-July, the Air Fighting Development Unit at RAF Duxford received the aircraft for combat trials. Mock dogfights pitted it against the latest Spitfire Mark IX, freshly introduced to counter the FW-190 threat. Results were eye-opening. The Mark IX matched or exceeded the German fighter at altitude, while exploiting its low-altitude advantages required precise positioning. RAF squadrons received urgent updates. Avoid prolonged turning battles below 20,000 feet where the FW-190 dominated. Zoom and boom from above. Force the enemy into climbs where performance dropped. Target the engine cooling and radial fins for quick kills. The impact rippled outward. Loss rates for RAF fighters in channel skirmishes began declining as pilots applied the fresh intelligence. Squadron leaders drilled new tactics. Hit and run, don't mix it in the hornet's nest. Kill ratios improved subtly but steadily. Historians later credited this single capture with shortening the air superiority struggle over Western Europe by months, preserving Allied aircrew lives that might otherwise have been lost to an underestimated foe. Meanwhile, Armin Faber endured the quiet agony of captivity. Transferred north to a POW camp, he wrestled with guilt in sparse barracks. Rumors filtered in, Allied pilots now exploiting weaknesses in the FW-190, engagements turning in Britain's favor. Fellow prisoners whispered accusations. Some blamed him for comrades falling to newly informed Spitfire pilots. Nights stretched long as he replayed the flight, the dogfight chaos, the spinning compass, the desperate search for the coast. Had he misread the water? Ignored subtle signs? The mistake haunted him, a personal betrayal magnified by war's scale. Yet small kindnesses pierced the despair. A camp guard once offered extra bread without comment. An interrogator spoke plainly, acknowledging the fog of combat. Faber learned survival demanded more than skill, it required accepting human limits. He was young, trained rigorously, yet one malfunction and one split-second choice had altered everything. As weeks turned to months, the captured Fw-190 flew on. It accumulated dozens of hours, 29 flights recorded between July 1942 and January 1943, before partial disassembly for deeper engine studies. The BMW 801's secrets were mapped. Power curves, fuel consumption tolerances. No single revelation won the war, but collectively they eroded the Luftwaffe's edge. By late 1942 the butcher bird, no longer terrified quite so deeply, it had become a known quantity, its mystique stripped away layer by layer. Faber, isolated in his thoughts, could only wonder at the irony. His error had gifted the enemy invaluable knowledge, yet it also spared his life. In the camp yard, under gray English skies, he began to see that survival itself carried weight. The war ground on, claiming lives daily, but he breathed still, disgraced in his own eyes perhaps, but enduring. What became of the aircraft that changed so much? And how did Faber eventually confront the legacy of that one fateful landing? The story deepens in Part 3, where we explore the long-term tactical shifts, the fate of the prize fighter, and the quiet reflections of a pilot forever marked by a single mistake. Stay tuned, the ripples from Pembrey were only beginning. The summer of 1942 faded into autumn, and the captured Focke-Wulf Fw-190, now bearing the RAF serial MP-499, continued its second life in British hands. At RAF Farnborough and later Duxford, test pilots pushed the aircraft through rigorous trials. Wing Commander H.J. Willie Wilson and others logged extensive flight time, comparing it directly against the newly arriving Spitfire Mark IX. The Mark IX, rushed into service partly to counter the Fw-190's earlier dominance, finally restored balance. In mock combats, the Spitfire 9 held advantages at higher altitudes, where the German fighter's BMW 801 engine struggled with thinner air and reduced supercharger efficiency. Below 15,000 feet, the Fw-190 still rolled and climbed with terrifying speed, but pilots learned to avoid those regimes. Instead, they used boom and zoom attacks, diving from above, striking hard, then climbing away before the butcher bird could respond effectively. These insights translated into squadron-level changes across fighter command. Briefing rooms filled with diagrams highlighting the Fw-190's vulnerabilities, the radial engine's cooling fins, prone to damage from even glancing hits, the heavier control forces in tight turns that fatigue pilots faster, the excellent low-level performance offset by poorer high-altitude handling. New tactics emphasized energy fighting, maintaining altitude and speed advantages, over the classic turning dogfights that had favored the agile Spitfire V against older Messerschmitts but left it outmatched by the Fw-190. RAF losses over the channel and in cross-channel sweeps began to stabilize, then decline. Pilots who once dreaded encounters with the radial engine fighter now approached them with calculated confidence, knowing exactly where to press an advantage and when to disengage. The intelligence value extended beyond tactics. Engineers dissected the BMW 801's fuel injection system, which provided consistent power without the carburetor icing issues plaguing some Allied engines. Armament studies revealed the punch of the 20mm MG-151 cannons, far deadlier in bursts than the Spitfire's .303 machine guns. British designers incorporated lessons into future projects. Better high-altitude performance in engines, improved roll rates through lighter ailerons, and heavier cannon armament in later Spitfire variants. While no single captured aircraft won the war, this one accelerated the evolution of Allied fighter technology and doctrine at a critical moment, when air superiority over Europe hung in precarious balance. In the POW camp in Canada, Oberleutnant Armin Faber grappled with a different kind of battle. Despondency hit hard after capture. He attempted suicide unsuccessfully, overwhelmed by shame and the knowledge of what his mistake had cost. Transferred across the Atlantic, he made 2 escape attempts, driven by a mix of duty and despair, but both failed. The camp's isolation amplified his inner turmoil, Rumors reached even remote Canada of RAF victories attributed to knowledge gained from a certain German fighter. Fellow prisoners varied in their reactions. Some offered quiet understanding, recognizing combat's chaos. Others blamed him openly for endangering comrades. Faber withdrew, wrestling with questions that had no easy resolution. Had pride pushed him to land rather than ditch in the sea? Could he have spotted the error sooner? The guilt lingered like a shadow, yet survival persisted as a stubborn fact. Health issues, possibly exaggerated, including reports of epilepsy, eventually secured his repatriation to Germany late in the war. He returned to a homeland crumbling under defeat, his name tied forever to one of the Luftwaffe's most embarrassing intelligence losses. Post-war, Faber faded into civilian life. He avoided publicity, rarely discussing the events of June 23, 1942. In 1991 he made a poignant gesture, visiting the Shoreham Aircraft Museum in England, where fragments of his FW-190's windscreen and control panel were displayed alongside relics from the Spitfire he had engaged. There he donated his officer's dagger and pilot's badge, quiet symbols of reconciliation, perhaps, or acceptance of a past that could not be changed. The FW-190 itself met a quieter end. After exhaustive testing, dozens of flights, engine teardowns, performance charts, the priceless machine was partially dismantled. Some components survived as museum pieces, reminders of engineering excellence and the fragility of fortune in war. The aircraft's capture didn't single-handedly turn the tide, but it eroded the mystique that had made the FW-190 seem unbeatable. Allied pilots flew with hard-earned knowledge instead of fear, chipping away at German air power one informed engagement at a time. Years later, the story of that June day endures as a testament to the unpredictable twists of conflict. One pilot's navigational disaster became another's strategic windfall. A broken compass, a moment of disorientation, and a perfect landing in the wrong place rippled outward, saving lives on one side while burdening another with lasting regret. In the end, war's mathematics proved strange indeed. A single mistake, born of human limits, helped shift the skies toward an Allied victory still years away. But the echoes didn't stop there. How did the FW-190 evolve in German service after this loss? And what final reflections did Faber carry into peacetime? The tale concludes in Part 4, where we examine the fighter's later variants, the broader air war's turning points, and the enduring human cost of one extraordinary error.